Guys, I'm back with another video to teach you how to build web applications with React and Material UI. So in this video, we are going to learn a very interesting topic, that is how to customize the Material UI components. So I have a fresh React application that's running on my localhost 3000. So what we will do is we will add some Material UI components into this application and try find a best way how to customize those components. So let me try to explain in detail what I mean to say when I say customizing the Material UI components. So what we will do is we'll go to the Material UI website by searching Material UI components. So if I go to this components page, I'll be able to see all the components that are available on Material UI. We can try this on any of the component, but in this video, I'm going to use a Material UI buttons, and we'll see how to customize the Material UI buttons. So here in the Material UI website, you can see that we have many types of buttons which are being provided by Material UI. And there are some things we can do to customize it. For example, they have some parameters like if I mention variant is equal to contained, it's going to have a background. If I mention variant is equal to outlined, then it's going to have no background color. It's just going to have an outline around the button. So basically you can read more on the documentation, what else is possible through Material UI, but the customizations that are mentioned in this documentation are very limited. We can't do much with it. For example, in Material UI, if you need to change the color of the button, so basically you will find that you can mention the color as primary or secondary. If you mention the color as secondary, this is going to be the color, and if the color is primary, then it's going to be blue in color. And there are very limited options that are available through the documentation. So basically, like, we are going to see what if I want this button to have some different color, and what if I want this button to even have a different font. So there are many ways we can customize this kind of components. One is by using the direct CSS. We can apply some CSS to this button and it will change the color and the font and everything on this button. But when you are building a large application using Material UI, basically you don't do that by using CSS. The best way to do that would be to build a theme in Material UI. So basically, if you build a theme where you have a collection of few buttons where you have mentioned the styling and the font and everything in the theme, you can keep reusing that component again and again, and the entire theme on the website will have the similar kind of buttons or the variations of buttons that you create. So basically, in this video, we are going to learn how to create a Material UI theme, and this theme will help us understand how to customize Material UI components. So if we scroll down a little bit, so here are all the components, and if you scroll down a little bit, you will see there is something called customization, and here you will see there is a tab that is related to theme, and on this documentation you will find the entire details on how to build a Material UI theme. I'm not going to go into very details in the document. Instead, we'll do it very practically by writing some code, so it will be easy to understand how to build a theme. So here in the theming, I'll go and expand this code first, and what we will do is we'll just copy few things from here that we need to import from Material UI to create a theme. So I'll just copy this entire thing and go back to my React.js application, and here I'm going to paste whatever I have imported. So basically I have imported some functions that we are going to use to build a theme. On this React application, as of now, we don't have any Material UI components. It's just a default React application. So what I'll do is I'll just import one component, that is a button from Material UI, because we'll be experimenting this theme logic on the buttons. And after this, you'll get a very good understanding on how to build a theme, and you'll be able to use the theme on any of the Material UI components. We are just using button as an example. So basically, to build a theme and to use that theme in this React application, the first thing you have to do is import all this from Material UI, and we are going to use this theme provider. So what we have to do is we have to wrap this entire application in this theme provider component, and we are going to use this function that is create theme to build a theme, and we are going to pass the theme to the theme provider. So basically we are passing the theme to the entire React application. So any logic that's any font styles or any kind of CSS that's been written on this theme will apply to the entire application when we pass it here as a theme. So I've passed it as a theme, but as of now we have not created a theme. So what we will do is we'll create a theme, and before we do that, what I'll do is I'll just remove this for now, and we will add a button into our React application. We'll add a couple of buttons, maybe 4 or 5, so it will help us understand how this works. So basically I'll create another div, and under this div let me add a few buttons from the, I'm going to go back to my components buttons. So what I'll do is I'll just copy these 3 buttons here and put it under the div. So I see that we have some kind of error. What we will do is we'll just comment this theme provider for now, and we'll wrap this entire application in a fragment. Now all the errors are gone, and we have added 3 buttons at the top using Material UI button components. So what I'll do is I'll remove all the default code so we can clearly just see the buttons. I'll remove all this logic at the bottom. So this is all the default. So now we just have 3 buttons in our React application. So what I'll do is I'll just bring these buttons in the center and make them a bit larger. So what I'll do is I'll just say style display flex direction would be column. So we have buttons which are aligned in a column. So by default what Material UI components do is they just take the entire space. As you can see that the button is taking the entire space of the screen by default, like because we have created a one column, so it's just taking the entire space. But we will see how to customize these buttons using again Material UI theme. So for now what I'll do is I'll just put the margin top 5%. So now we have 3 Material UI buttons in our application, and it's time to build a theme and define how we are going to style these buttons. So we'll go back to the Material UI documentation. Let's go to the customization, and this time we are going to see how to customize the components. So under the customization we have seen how to use a theme provider and how to import it, and this time we are going to see the components section. So here in the components section, if I scroll down a little bit, I'll be able to find syntax. So basically I'll be able to find the syntax of how to create a theme. So under the theme we have components, and we are defining a Material UI buttons, and basically we are creating a different variants of the button that we are going to use in our theme. So what we will do is we'll just copy this entire syntax from here and then try to change it as per our needs. I'm just going to copy that. So here I'm going to paste the theme. So basically we are using a create theme function to build a theme. And now I think it's okay to use a theme provider because we have a theme. So we can pass a theme into this theme provider. So basically we have wrapped this entire application under theme provider, and we have passed a theme here. And this theme is defining what kind of styling is going to be applied to all the Material UI button components. So if we go back to the React application, so we see that blue is not defined because this is using a color from Material UI that is blue. So now because we are going to change it, I'm just going to remove this part. I'm going to put my own styling here. So what I'll do is I'll say that the color should be red, and my font size should be 30 pixels. Okay, so as of now I've just changed the styling here, but nothing is changed here, so we'll see how to do that. So basically here in this syntax we have the components object. Under this components we are going to put all the components that we are going to customize using the theme. So as of now under the components we only have Material UI button, and under the button we have an array that is variants. So here in the variants what we are doing is we are saying that if the prop is dashed and the color is secondary, then we are going to apply the styling. So basically under the props we can mention anything. So I'm just going to delete all this part. I'm going to say that if my prop variant is equal to variant 1, then my color of the button should be red and the font size should be 30 pixels. So as of now, if I save this, we'll see that the styling is not applied to any of the buttons, and there is a reason for that, because if I see my buttons, there my variant parameter that has been passed is having a values that is text, contained and outlined. And here I've clearly mentioned that if my variant is equal to variant 1, then only the styling is going to apply to my button. So basically I'm going to copy this variant 1. So let's say if I mention that my first button should be variant 1. So if I save this, so now you can see that the styling has been applied to my first button. The text size has increased and the color has changed to red. So now what I'll do is I'll just style this button a bit more. What I'll say is my color, I'm not worrying about my color. Instead, I want my background color to be red. So now we have a background color of red, and I'll say that my color should be white and my font pixels, let's make it 20 pixels. So now we have this button. Now we see that this button is taking the entire space. So I'm also going to say that in any part of my application, if I add the variant 1 button, the width of this button should be 300 pixels. So we have had a custom styling to this button now. And now I have a button with the variant 1, and there's only one button. Let's say I want to add more buttons which I want similar buttons in my application, so I can simply add another button and the styling will be applied to all the buttons which are variant 1 buttons. So similarly, let's say in my application I'm using two kinds of buttons. One is the red buttons and another is, let's say, purple buttons. So what I'll do is so this variants is an array. So in this array, as of now, there is one object, but I can add as many variants as I want. I'll just copy this, paste it here. I'll say that my variant 2 button will have a color of purple and rest is going to be the same. So if I save it, so now let me make these two buttons as variant 2 buttons just to see that. So if I copy my variant 1 here and change it to variant 2, so you can see that this is my variant 2 button. So basically what I've done is I have defined two kinds of buttons in my theme. Now I'll be able to reuse these buttons that have been defined in the theme with all the styling in any part of my application. So basically I don't have to write the entire CSS again and again for different buttons. All I have to do is I have to mention what kind of variant it is. So if it's a variant 1, then this kind of styling is going to be applied. If it's variant 2, so let's say in my application I'm using not just two kinds of buttons. I have three kinds of buttons for the different pages. Maybe I'm using, my theme is using three different kinds of buttons with the different colors. So let's say that I'm using a yellow buttons if my variant is 3. So what I'll do is I'll just change this to variant 3 button. So now you can see that we have three kinds of buttons here. So anytime I want to add another button to my application on any page of my website, I'll be using the buttons that I have defined in my theme. So this is a good way to do that, because let's say in future I decided that all my variant 2 buttons are not going to be purple and they are going to be green. So what I have to do is I'll just come to theme, find my variant 2 button, and if I change it to green, so basically what's going to happen is, let's say that I have variant 2 buttons on many pages of my website. Let's say I have 4 to 5 variant 2 buttons. Now all of them change to green. I don't have to go and change on the multiple places. I just go to my theme and say that change my variant 2 button to, let's say, brown. All of my buttons are going to change instantly on my entire application. So basically I hope you are getting an idea how do we build a theme in Material UI and how do we customize the components in a way that we are able to change them later at any time without any problems. So basically this is the way we build Material UI applications using React. So if you found this video helpful, share it, like it, subscribe to the channel. So see you in the next video.